In a grand, tension-filled chamber of the Supreme Court, the atmosphere crackles with anticipation as Denzel Washington, a figure renowned not only for his cinematic prowess but also for his commanding presence, steps forward to address the justices. The hallowed halls, lined with towering marble columns and portraits of legal titans, seem to hold their breath as he begins. Chief Justice John Roberts, a man whose measured demeanor has long defined the court's proceedings, eyes Washington with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The case at hand, a contentious debate over free speech and its boundaries in the digital age, has drawn the attention of the nation, and Washington, unexpectedly, has been called as a witness to offer perspective. His involvement stems from his outspoken advocacy for truth in media, a stance that has made him both a cultural icon and a lightning rod for controversy. As he clears his throat, the room falls silent, every year attuned to the words of a man whose voice has swayed millions through film but now faces the ultimate test of influence in this bastion of law. Washington begins with a measured tone, his words deliberate yet infused with the gravitas that has defined his career. He speaks of the First Amendment, not as a legal scholar but as a citizen who has witnessed the power of words to uplift and destroy. He recounts stories of individuals silenced by fear, their voices drowned out in the cacophony of modern discourse, and draws parallels to his own journey in an industry where truth is often manipulated for profit. The justices lean forward, some scribbling notes, others exchanging glances, as Washington weaves a narrative that transcends legal jargon, grounding the abstract in the human. He argues that free speech must be protected not just for the powerful but for the voiceless, those whose stories are buried under algorithms and corporate agendas. His voice rises, not in anger but in conviction, as he challenges the court to consider the real-world consequences of their rulings. Roberts, sensing the shift in the room's energy, interrupts, his tone sharp, reminding Washington to stay within the bounds of the question posed. But Washington, undeterred, locks eyes with the Chief Justice, a silent acknowledgement that he will not be easily silenced. The exchange escalates as Roberts attempts to steer the discussion back to procedural norms, his gavel hovering like a warning. Washington, however, is no stranger to standing his ground. He pivots, drawing on his decades of portraying men who confront power at characters like Malcolm X and Hurricane Cartera and channels their defiance into his testimony. He speaks of the digital era's challenges, where misinformation spreads like wildfire, yet censorship risks extinguishing legitimate voices. His words resonate with Justice Kavanaugh, who nods subtly, and even Justice Sotomayor, known for her probing questions, appears captivated. Washington's argument is not rooted in case law but in a moral clarity that cuts through the room's legal fog. He cites the Founding Fathers, not by quoting their texts but by invoking their spirit, asking what they would make of a world where a tweet can be silenced by a faceless corporation. The gallery, packed with reporters and onlookers, buzzes with whispers, sensing a moment that could redefine the court's approach to free speech. As Washington concludes his opening remarks, the room erupts in murmurs, with Roberts struggling to maintain order. The actor's presence has transformed the hearing into something more, a cultural reckoning. He steps back, his gaze steady, as the justices prepare their questions. The weight of his words lingers, a challenge to the court to rise above precedent and politics. Washington's testimony, though unconventional, has struck a chord, forcing the justices to confront the human stakes of their decisions. As the session pauses for a brief recess, the nation watches, waiting to see how this unexpected advocate will shape a debate that could alter the fabric of American discourse. His courage in the face of Roberts' attempt to rein him in has set the stage for a clash not just of ideas but of wills, in a courtroom where the future of free speech hangs in the balance. The recess ends, and the Supreme Court chamber hums with renewed intensity as Denzel Washington returns to the stand. The justices, now armed with questions, prepare to probe the depth of his perspective. Justice Alito, known for his textualist approach, opens with a pointed inquiry about the limits of free speech in an era of rampant misinformation. Washington listens intently, his eyes narrowing as he processes the question, then responds with a blend of pragmatism and passion. He acknowledges the dangers of falsehoods but warns against the slippery slope of censorship, drawing on his experiences in Hollywood, where narratives are shaped and voices suppressed for a profit or ideology. His response is not a legal treatise but a vivid tapestry of anecdotes from actors blacklisted for their beliefs to ordinary citizens demonetized on platforms for controversial opinions. The room feels the weight of his examples, each one a reminder that the law does not exist in a vacuum but shapes lives in tangible ways. Justice Kagan, ever the intellectual sparring partner, challenges Washington on the practicality of his stance. She asks how the court can balance the right to speak with the harm caused by divisive rhetoric. Washington pauses, his silence commanding as much attention as his words. He recounts a scene from his film Training Day, where his character's moral ambiguity exposed the complexity of human motives, and uses it to argue that speech, even when uncomfortable, reveals truths that society must confront. He suggests that the answer lies not in restricting voices but in amplifying dialogue, encouraging the court to foster an environment where ideas compete rather than vanish. His response earns a rare smile from Justice Gorsuch, who seems to appreciate the layman's clarity in a debate often mired in legalese. Roberts, however, remains stoic, his earlier interruption still a point of tension, and he interjects again, pressing Washington to address specific precedents like Brandenburg v. Ohio. Washington admits his lack of legal expertise but counters with a question of his own. If the law silences the truth to stop a lie, what's left of justice? The room gasps at his audacity. The gallery, now a mix of legal scholars, activists, and media, hangs on every word, their phones discreetly recording as Washington navigates the justices' gauntlet. Justice Thomas, typically silent, surprises the room.